How's it going, people? Back again for what was it? Nofap video 2. So we left with Joe Rogan and a specific personal trainer online talking about their experiences as to why you should continue masturbating. And there are a few. Oh, I used that word again. I shouldn't have used it. Yeah. So why you should continue fornicating, and their valid reasons as to why you should do it. Okay. And they were basically saying that with their normal daily stresses of life, it would be impossible for them not to do it, and it would encourage them to cheat if they didn't do it. Okay, so let's get into some of the reasons why people most likely are watching pornography or fapping. Okay. Let's get into some of the reasons as to why I was doing it. One of the reasons was when I was trapped in a job. I do suffer from mental health, so sustaining a job is very hard, ridiculously hard for me. That's why I've gone into self-employment. I myself am a personal trainer. But when I was working for certain mediocre jobs, although I do not believe that it was because of the pay, why I was stressed out, it was more or less down to my mental health. When I was totally stressed out, I had problems with insomnia, so I could not get to sleep. So watching porn at night time helped me get to sleep. The second reason was I did not at the time have a girlfriend. I was trapped in certain jobs where some jobs I was working 7 days a week. I just did not have the time to find a partner. Therefore, I would watch pornography. And you got to understand the law of porn is that you do truly believe when you watch porn that it's a fantasy, and the fantasy is that particular woman that you're watching in front of you is kind of talking to you. Yeah, she's kind of like your best friend, and and she's giving men them, their best desires, or whatever you want to describe it. So you got to kind of look at it that way. It's a friend. I didn't have a girlfriend at the time, so that's about two reasons. What would be the third reason? Third reason is the most obvious of all, would be stress. If I got really stressed out by something, I was really angry, felt like punching the wall or whatever, I would watch it and it would release that stress. Okay. Fourth reason would be for things like mental health. There is a lack of serotonin in the brain, and people watch it in order to release endorphins. The endorphins will give you maybe a 15-second release. The build-up can go on for an hour with watching porn, but the endorphins release for 15 seconds, so you're kind of always looking for that serotonin loss or lack of serotonin. You're always trying to look at something to replace it. So that's four reasons. What would be the fifth reason? The fifth reason would be, again, the obvious one, is that it's an addiction. It's an addiction. It kind of ties into number 4, because of that lack of serotonin, or because of that endorphins that gets released. You're addicted to that. You're addicted to that feel-good feeling. The only downside is that feel-good feeling is short-lived, and you're overcome. Most people are overcome with guilt, and that's what brings me into the next thing. Is that, let's face it, it's not everyone. Just like what the coach was saying, Joe Rogan was saying, it's not everyone out there that struggles with porn addiction. They're living healthy, good lives. They've got a woman. They might have wife, children, healthy relationships. So this isn't it's not everyone that needs to give up porn. Some people, it's not everyone that needs to give up any addiction that they have. If they can cope quite well with it, then you don't need to really give it up. I mean, it'd be best that you gave it up, in my opinion, but you don't really need to give it up, because you will find yourself looking for something else. You'll be looking for a replacement. And I think that's another important thing, and that's another thing to touch upon before we get back into the Nofap, is that when you do give up any addiction, your brain will crave, and I mean, when I mean crave, I mean really, like, you will just crave something else. What I tried to do is I tried to start reading, tried to say, right, again, in my addictions videos where I talked about a lesser evil, I was reading. I might have gone out there and played basketball, I might have done gym, I might have taken an interest up in snails. That's why people say to me now, oh, I play computer games. If they're not smoking and they're not drinking, then I can't judge them, because at the end of the day, it makes perfect sense. Your brain is craving something. If you said to me you had an interest in Marvel comics and you don't smoke, you don't drink, or maybe you do smoke, you do drink, but you don't watch porn or whatever, it makes perfect sense to me, because your brain, you have to replace it with something, and as long as you're replacing it with something, then there's no such thing as, oh, he's a nerd, or or he's lazy, he's a bum. Or as long as you're replacing it with something positive, then well, bum can be kind of, again, I'll get into that in another video, the bum thing, because we all have our different version of that word. So, but if they're calling you a nerd or whatever for watching something or for taking an interest up in something that's a bit kind of, you would class as boring, I'm telling you that if they don't drink or they don't smoke or they don't watch porn or anything like that, then their mind, it has to be stimulated in some way, and it doesn't make a difference what they're doing. As far as I'm concerned, thumbs up, keep going. Okay, alright, so let's get back into the Nofap. Alright, so 2 months into it, I'm on the internet watching Nofap videos. Sorry, 2 weeks into it, and then I started going on to a social networking site called Plenty of Fish, because obviously I'm not getting my fix, my hit from pornography, so I want the real thing. Going to the social networking site, sending women messages. Definitely had this newfound confidence, although that confidence could be kind of maybe a little bit of desperation. I had no other alternatives but to get the real thing. But unfortunately, about 2 to 3 weeks on this site, Plenty of Fish actually, which I would say to certain people, certain cultures or races, that maybe Plenty of Fish isn't for every race. Let's put it that way. It's not, as far as I'm concerned. But I went into Plenty of Fish, and there was a bit of a struggle on Plenty of Fish. My pictures look good enough. I'd say maybe 6, 7 out of 10. My pictures on Plenty of Fish, but it was a bit of a struggle, and I found myself getting a bit kind of stressed out, a bit let down a few times. And that kind of tension started to build up, and probably about 2 months into it now, I decided that, you know what, it might be best that I give this whole relationship a pass, a miss for now, because I'm getting a bit too stressed out by it all. So in the end, it pretty much came to a situation where it was best that I just don't have relationships, period. It was kind of like that. And again, for me, it was just about getting past a certain point where I don't get stressed out over either rejection, sex, or any of that kind of thing. How can I explain it? When I was going on that social networking site, I was almost on the rebound, so I hadn't fully recovered from the Nofap. It's still there. So when I'm getting rejected, it's kind of leading me back to it. So the reason why I gave up the whole relationship thing in the first place is I'm not over this. I'm still on the rebound. Let me get over it first, and then I can go back and seek healthy relationships rather than just be on the rebound. But about 3 months into it, I did get a message on a site called Tagged, and I was, really desperate at the time. I remember that one thing I did do, and I'm going to be honest about it, is I did used to, in the beginning, there was a few odd times, 2 months into it, 2.5 months into it, that I I felt like I was close to watching pornography. So what I did is I went on to a webcam site. Now some people will debate and say, yeah, but Luke, you kind of did watch porn, and that's open to debate, really. Me personally, I didn't feel that a webcam site was porn, especially from the kind of porn that I was watching. You know, a webcam site wasn't the same thing. It wasn't. A webcam site is just a woman naked, really, whereas porn is more seductive. There's a storyline. It's designed in a way where you're teased. You're kind of, you know, it's, you know, even the strongest man would be kind of lured into it. Whereas these webcam sites is just a woman naked. It wasn't kind of the same thing. But I did go on to it 2.5 months later, and it started off where I would just strictly log on to the webcam site for literally 10 seconds, and then I'd come off of the site, and then maybe 3-4 days later I would go back on to the site, and it would be a minute long, and then 3 days later it would be 10 minutes long. And then it got to a point where I was kind of teasing, wait a minute, I've got this big bee coming into my room. Damn, that thing is massive. 1 minute. Alright, go away. Go away. Oh my gosh, guys, if you look at the size of this bee. Bloody hell, man. Get out of here. Damn. Sorry, guys. Hope it's gone. That was massive. Anyway, so where am I going with this? I also lost concentration. Right, so what was I talking about? I was talking about, 1 minute, guys. Give me 10 seconds. I don't want to end this video and end up doing it again. Right, so yeah, so the webcam site. So in the end, basically, even though I was on this site trying to kind of lessen that kind of craving, it started off as me clicking on the page for 10 seconds, and then over the next like 2-3 weeks I almost was watching it in the background as I was studying, kind of thing. So I wasn't fornicating to it, but it was there because, like I said, if I compared it to pornography, it wasn't as strong, nowhere near it. But in the end I found myself watching it every day, and even though it wasn't as high as porn, it wasn't as seductive as porn, I found myself kind of almost getting blue balls, if that's what the term that was used. I found myself kind of, you know, I was almost getting, basically I was working myself up, basically. If you watch enough of it, enough of something little as a webcam, then it does build up. Basically over a period of time it builds up. So in the end I had to kind of, luckily I was on a site called Tagged, and basically a woman sent me a message saying she was attracted to me, and then, to cut a long story short, because I'm not going to go into the whole of the story, because of the webcam build up, I could see myself about to fail. This was about 3 months into it, and I know for a fact I would have failed. I went down to where she lived, and basically we had sex. Now I didn't intend on using her in the beginning, because there's no woman that I've had sex with I intend on using, but because it was so quickly, it just didn't work out, because we didn't have enough time to find out what each other was about or things like that. It just didn't work out. But to cut a long story short, she really did save me, because I would have failed, you know, which is going to lead me to the next video, and that's that, you know, a lot of people have these myths like, you know, can I go with a prostitute on the Nofap? Is sex a bad thing on the Nofap? These questions need to be answered as well. So we're going to explore these things, and I will see you in the very last video, which will be Nofap 3, and it will have a bit of addictions in it as well, because it's important to cover a few things on addictions that I missed out on. And yeah, that'll be my last video. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you have learned something from it. Okay, I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.